What's going on? And it's the Lav Luv Morning Show, Post 101.3, the heartbeat of the community. We're in here. So last week, we talked about this story. It's a mom who went to the prom with her son. And we was looking at the comments. We had a whole conversation about this. We had a whole bunch of assumptions. And so I reached out and we got her. So for the people that did not catch the show, this is the video. Hold on. Here we go, right?
They're never gonna guess I'm your mom, because baby, this is Jessica Rabbit. What's a bigger flex than your kid thinking you look good enough or cool enough to be his date to his prom? Raising a man of his word, as he spoke this into existence 10 years ago.
If like prom was around these years, I would have went with my mom.
Why?
She's not married. She looks nice.
All right, so that was the video. We have the mother here who is in that video. And how you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. All right. So the crazy thing about it is my producer, he's like, reach out to her, Laugh. I bet she'll do the interview. I was like, man, she's not doing no interview. And whoop, there it is. You here.
Here it is. I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
I'm on the platform. I'm willing to answer any questions and misunderstandings that may have come about. I really don't see how people can distort such a wholesome, genuine video, but there it is. The proof is on the internet. People took it and ran with it.
Okay, so first, how did this come about? I mean, I see your son on there. How old is he in the video when he's a kid, when he's younger?
Well, the video was my cousin that recorded it on a Disney trip. I wasn't even there. I don't know what the conversation was, but I guess it was just talking about future plans and things like that. And the question was whatever it was, and that was his answer. In the event that he didn't have a prom date, that he would take his mom because she's not married and she looks nice. It's been a family video that just circulates around for his birthday and things like that. And for this year, my cousin reposted it, shouting out like a birthday shout out, and that's how it was in circulation again, because that was when he was, I think, 8 years old.
Okay. And how old is your son now?
He's 18.
So he's 18. All right. So he says he would take his mama to the prom. How do we get to you actually going to the prom? What happened?
Okay, so it was not it was and it wasn't my idea. So the way I ended up coming to prom was because he had already gone to the same prom last year with his then girlfriend. She's older than him. She graduated last year and she didn't want to go again this year. Understandable. He didn't want to take another girl to make her feel uncomfortable. And by the time he sort of had plans to go with a friend of his. My son is very last minute with everything. He started, I think prom was May 25th or something like that. He literally started planning this at the beginning of May. So his plan was to take a friend of his, a boy, which was trying to get back his girlfriend, who was also going to be at that prom. But somewhere along the line, he said that it was getting messy and he didn't want to get involved. So then he was like, well, I guess I'm just going to have to go alone. And I said it as a joke. I was like, well, if you want, I can throw on that dress that I had, because I already had the dress from a wedding that we went to a few weeks prior. And I said it jokingly, hey, if you want, I can throw on the dress and come with you. And he was like, well, if you don't mind, I think it'd be cool to remake the aftermath of the original video of me saying that I would take you to prom if I didn't have a date. So that's really how it came about. He was like, well, you know what? Let me ask my friends if they're cool with it. Then I don't mind you coming if you're cool with it too. So I was like, cool, left it alone. He
So it was
asked friends.
so it wasn't just him. It was him and a group of friends.
Well, the thing was that I didn't go with the group of friends. I went with my son, but he wanted to get clearance from his friends to make sure that they were okay with, I guess, me being at the table. Later on, we found out that I wasn't even allowed to stay at the prom, which was cool because my intentions were only to escort him and stay there for a little bit and then just dip off 20-30 minutes into the prom. Once he found out that they didn't allow people 20 or 21 or over, he had to get clearance from a teacher, and they allowed me to escort him but not to stay.
Okay.
So I wasn't partying at this prom with 17 and 18-year-olds. I really just escorted my son for pictures and then left.
Okay. See, because that's kind of the ideology that you was at the prom turning up.
No,
that was the thought process
and
that you was.
I've clarified it in the comments in my personal page, but that's what I'm saying. People just see a 55-second clip and then they just assume what life is based on that 55-second clip.
Yeah, because I'm not gonna lie, I assumed you was at the prom, twerk something too, with you turning up because well, now let me tell you, to be honest with you, full transparency. So what I did was I looked through your page after I saw the video. I was like, oh, what is this about? I was like, ooh, to the prom, because I have a daughter. My daughter is 18, well 19 now, and so I was like, would I have gone to the prom with my daughter? And I was like, it seems kind of. I don't know. So if I'm being honest with you, I'm not gonna lie to you and not say what I said when you wasn't around. So that's one of my things. I don't say anything about people that I wouldn't say to them to their face. So that's my thing. So I was like, I did just think it was kind of weird too. But then I was like, it's got to be more to it. I did say that. I said it's got to be more. I wanted to know what the story was behind it, and my producer wanted to know what the story was behind it because we was like, it's got to be more to it. Because again, we assumed that you was in there turning up with the 17, 18-year-olds, and then after I looked at your pictures,
with these kids.
Yes, and then I looked at your pictures. I was like, okay, she be doing it for the gram. She be doing it for the gram now.
No, I do. I have my personality, but I don't. I'm not an exhibitionist, but I am pretty
a little bit about a little bit.
No, I am, and I dress how I dress. I don't see a problem with how I dress and how I showcase myself, but I don't do that around kids. I'm very much one of those people that I will wear a G-string to any beach, but if I know there's kids, I will put on shorts. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So there's a thin line that I try not to cross. So I understand how people can get the misconception of thinking that I'm in there shaking ass and partying. And in the event that this was my idea of him taking me to prom, then yeah, it would be a little weird because I'm imposing it on him. But it was a joke that I said, and he took it and ran with it. And then there's also the proof of the video that he said this years ago. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't understand where it's coming from, people thinking that I had a gun to him, forcing him to take me to his prom, you know?
I get it. So at any point, so when you threw the idea out there, then he was like, yo, that might be cool, whatever. So at any point in time, did the thought of how this could be perceived, did that ever cross your mind?
No,
not necessarily because you didn't see it that way.
That people were gonna call me weird and a pedophile for going to the prom with my son.
Yeah, no, I wasn't in the pedophile lane. I definitely wasn't there. And I asked that, see, because we were talking off air, and one of the things that you said was that, you're not really an internet person. It's for your own private thing, right? For friends and family, for the most part, right?
Well, as far as like the people that follow me, I have a public platform, but I don't have hundreds and thousands of followers. You know what I mean? Like, I figured that once I posted that video, it was for my people to see, not for the world to join in and start crucifying me.
I got it. All right. So hold tight. We're going to talk a little bit more because I want to dive a little bit deeper into that, because that's the topic that, we talk about on a regular basis right now. We talked to the mom that was in the video, went to the prom with her son, that everybody was on her. They was on her ass, and we're going to talk about it. And they was on it figuratively, literally and figuratively. People's about that ass. So we're going to talk about it a little bit later. It's the Lav Luv Morning Show, Post 101.3, the heartbeat of the community. It's the Lav Luv Morning Show, Post 101.3, the heartbeat of the community. We talking to our interviewed mom that went to the prom with her son and the whole night. All right, so this is my thing with the you. So this is I'm trying to figure out how to say this because I fuss at younger people about this. I don't know. Do you mind telling your age? How old are you? If you don't mind.
No, I don't mind.
How old?
39.
39. All right. I fuss at young people about this, and I always say that they don't understand how the internet works and how social media works. And I say that from a perspective as it relates to your video is your profile is public, it's not private. And so once you post something on a public profile, then it now belongs to the world. And anything you post on social media, I don't care how mundane it is, it has the potential to go viral. Because for you, it's just a moment. And it's just, that's just what I did on Tuesday. But for other people, it potentially could be like, wow, I can't believe they did that. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, you're right. I see where you're going with it.
So that's why when I asked the question, did you think about how this could be perceived? That's kind of more what I mean. Not do you want the approval of people, not from that perspective, but just are you ready for that? What comes along with that? Because again, as I looked at your pictures, I was like, yo, she do it for the gram because you're not an ugly woman. So you're not an ugly woman. And you are somewhat of an exhibitionist. And so when you combine those two things, I think the potential for attention on the internet goes through the roof.
No, and that's okay. But me showing my pictures on my Instagram for attention is one thing, but me going to the prom with my son for attention is a completely different story.
I totally agree. But see, the thing about that is you gotta remember, you talking of you that's from a perspective of you. You got to remember, everybody don't think like you. And it's the same way how we in class when we were in school, you read a book and then you talk about the book, and then everybody has these different ideas of what the characters were thinking, and she was doing this, and how we watch a movie. He was like, man, when they did this, like, no, you think that? I don't think she was caring about that. You know what I'm saying? And everybody has these different ideas, but we all saw the same thing, but we have a different idea of what we saw.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Correct. And it goes into the saying, we see the world as we are, not as it is.
Exactly. And so I think that is what you are running into now. You're running into, for you, it's just a simple moment, a mom having a moment with her son. But for the rest of, not the rest of the world, for a large group of people, it was, wow, this shouldn't be happening. You know what I'm saying? And then you got to remember the internet. I always say this too, it never fails. Those people are going to find you. And it doesn't matter. And when I say those people, well, no. When I say they're going to find you, I'm talking about from a perspective of the negative people, the bad people. They're always going to find you. You could put a video up of you holding a baby and looking deeply into the baby's eyes. It would be some racist pop up and say some racist mess. Like, yo, are you serious right now?
Right. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah. So again, I'm saying again, this is what I mean when I say that, the thought process of people are going to be there because you can't control how people are going to view what you did.
Yeah, and I don't mind them having their opinion, but I guess I'm basing this off how I am. I would never go onto a stranger's page and put in my 2 cents without knowing the backstory behind it. Now, I feel like if people knew the backstory behind it, they would be a little less judgmental with the weird and the this and the that, because again, like I said, we see the world as we are, not as it is. Me and my son, we have a great relationship where he considers me his best friend, and I'm very proud of that. Not too many 18-year-olds have the type of relationship with their mom that my son has with me. So going to the prom with him, it makes me feel proud because I feel like he's showcasing that that relationship that he has with me, where he feels like I am cool enough to be around him and his friends. That's the way I saw it. But I understand how people can see it like, oh, well, she's imposing herself on him. She's this, she's that. But that's because that's the type of mother they had.
Okay.
So that's my spin on it.
Yeah. And I don't even think that's a bad take on it. And I think that kind of brushes up against the old parenting versus air quotes new parenting. Like you said, you consider yourself to be your son's friend. Some people would say you're a parent, you're not supposed to be your son's friend. See, so that kind of
that he considers me to be his best friend, and that's why I feel super proud.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So I think that is a I don't even want to say conflict, a difference in ideologies there. So, like, what are some of the things that you've seen people say in the comments besides weirdo, besides the pedo thing, which is crazy? I never thought of it from a pedo standpoint.
On TikTok, they run a lot with the whole son husband thing that I need to find myself a man. I think that's probably why people are rubbed by it the wrong way, because I'm single. And they're saying that if there was a man figure in his life, would I be going? I don't see the correlation in that. Whether I have a man or not in my life, how does that affect me and my son having a great relationship?
Okay, so so we touched on that too. So I would say this. Some people would say, and I might be part of some people, that that if, say, you were married or you had a boyfriend or whatever that you had been dating for a while, and I say for a while because if you just met him, he shouldn't have no opinions on what you was doing with your son. So you've been dating for a while, or a husband, dad would most likely have said, no, we're not going to do that. I get that you want to do it. I get that y'all get a good relationship, but we're not going to do that. Let him go to the prom with his friends and enjoy this moment.
But I did not allow him to go with his friends. It wasn't like I was choice number one. I was literally the last choice, and that's how I ended there.
Yeah, I get it, but that's what I'm saying. Dad still would have said, I get all of that, but what we're not going to do, we're not going to go to the prom with the son. That's what, in a man's world, that's, so I always say that fathers, not just men, fathers are the balancing act, because mothers act out of, what it sounds like to me, you did something out of love for your son. It has nothing, it was not nefarious, it was not imposing yourself, it was just strictly out of love for your son. And sometimes moms could be a bit much when it comes to loving for their kids, and that's daddy's job to say, hey mama, I know you love them, but you gotta let them go. Fall back, let them do this.
Again, I understand what you're saying in the event that I was imposing myself on this event.
Yeah.
If he was the one that wanted to take me, whether I had a man or not, what does my man have to, whether it was his father or not, have to put in his 2 cents and say, no, you can't go because of why?
And that's the thing about it. It's not necessarily, it's one of the, I think it's a man thing. And I think it's understanding the dichotomy of man-woman relationship, man-man relationships, and those types of interactions. So I think dad would have, a dad would have stepped in for that. It's not about, so I think for you, it seems like it's you can't go with your son. It's not about that. I think it's forward thinking ideology of the dad. It's okay now, but the long term, you look back and say, yo, I went with my friends, mom didn't go, and that was good. It was okay that mom didn't go. See what I'm saying? And I think it doesn't have to be, or why can't I go type scenario. I think it can also be a scenario where it's, hey, just let this happen. It's okay that this is happening without you. Not that you're imposing yourself. Just sometimes
but it still happened without me. I was there for all of 15 minutes. The prom still went on, and he was there with his friends. He came back alone. He went to the shore with his friends. So I'm trying to understand the concept of why I was not allowed to escort him for 20 minutes of his prom experience.
Because some would say that you inserted yourself in a life milestone.
Because he invited me, in theory.
And that's what I'm saying. So you were invited, but so then you introduced the question of just because you can, should you?
But okay, so now I ask you this: why shouldn't I?
Well, why should you? See, that's the first question, because it's his moment. So why should you?
Because he was the one that brought this on 10 years ago when he said it unconsciously, or whatever the word is, when he said it back when he was 8. In the event that I don't have a prom date, I would take my mom.
Yeah, I get, but he was 8.
Why shouldn't I now follow through because he didn't have a date and he still wants to take me? Why should I have to be the one to be like, no, this is your moment, when it was never my intentions to take the moment away from him. The people have taken the moment and put the spotlight on me, as opposed to making it.
Listen to what you just said. And that's why what you just said. Because what happened is it turned to being about you and not about his moment.
No, the people turned it about me. I didn't make this about me. So my question to you is, was I supposed to just tell my son no, forward thinking that people might see this video on the internet and run with it?
I think I can't say what you should or you should have done. Your child, your moment.
I feel like the right thing to do as a mother is be there for their kid. And
that's where when I'm talking about the father, that's what I'm talking about. Sometimes moms think they have to be in certain spaces, but you don't have to. You want to be in that space. If you don't attend this prom,
I want to be in the space where my son wants me to be.
But you brought it up. If he wanted you to be there, it was just because it was a fleeting idea does not necessarily mean it's his idea. He's also your son. He loves you. And he said it would be cool, but it's also,
let's make this very clear also. I did tell him, Javen, I would only go if you want me to go. I don't want you thinking I want to go, and that's why you're taking me, because I could give a fuck about partying with 17.
Hey, no cussing. Now I got to beat that.
My apologies.
It's okay. Go ahead. No, keep talking.
Yeah, I could give a damn about partying with kids. So I made that very clear to him that this wasn't an experience that I needed for myself. There's people in the comments saying, well, maybe she never went to prom. I went to 5 proms when I was younger. I went to 5 proms, mine and then 4 other ones. You know what I mean? So this was nothing that I did for me. This was something that I did for him.
I get it, and I don't, and I'm not necessarily. I don't feel talking to you. I don't necessarily feel you did this for you, but what I do think is, I think it's not necessarily about you having the foresight to see that people would have seen this a different way. I think having the foresight that the way people are perceiving this is, it could have been even perceived just in the prom itself. Not that you wanted to go, just the fact that you walked in with him is like, ooh, my mom's my date. Even though you were leaving, the perception that the ideology that you made is about you could still have been there, even in that moment. Even if the internet was not into play, that could have happened with the staff that was there, the other kids who weren't his friends who were there. And the ramifications for all of those things could have still happened in that moment. See what I'm saying? And again, it's not a situation when you say, why should I have to? It's, as parents, I think sometimes we don't do stuff. A lot of times we want to do. For example, I was a coach for my kids. I coached multiple sports. But when my kids would play sports that I wasn't coaching, what I had to do, I might know better than the coach, but a lot of times I wouldn't say anything, because I was like, that's his team. That's his team. That's their moment. My child has to do this and learn to disseminate this on his or her own, even though I had the knowledge to know and do better. Now, we would talk about that at the house, but while we were at practice, I sat in the stands like every other parent. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, but that's because there's already a coach in place to do that job.
And that's what I'm saying. There's no need for me to implement. And that's what I'm saying. In the prom, the ideology could be there's still everything, having a good time, enjoying himself, all that stuff would have still happened, even if you said, no, I'm not gonna go. This is your moment. This is your time. All him having a good time and all that, it still happens.
But it happened whether I went with him or not. because like I said, I understand what you're saying. And in the event that I did stay in the prom, I can see how I would have possibly cramped his style where he wouldn't have been able to enjoy himself to his full potential because I'm there. But that's what I'm saying. If I was only there for a whole 20 minutes, he still had 4 hours to enjoy his prom. So how is me making that memory with him and having pictures and leaving 30 minutes in affecting his prom experience?
Well, like now, we're talking about this now. And again, what I said is, even if we take the internet out of it, the ideology of the thought process of what's happening on the internet could have still happened within the prom, because it only takes a moment. It doesn't take you necessarily stand at the prom for the 4 hours for a moment to happen. Does that make sense? So I get it's a time frame thing, but it doesn't take that. It could be as simple as you walking in with him. The moment is created already. So now, 5 years from now,
taking the moment away from him when it's his prom and he chose to bring his mom. I think that what's jarring people, it's not that he took his mom to prom or that taking his mom to prom is taking away his spotlight. It's the fact that he took a mom that looks good. I feel like if I didn't look as well as I do, we wouldn't really be here or we wouldn't be talking about it.
I think people would still be talking about it.
I think that people would have received it a different way if I looked older, if I didn't look the way I look. Honestly, I think that's what's causing the whole.
So okay, so it's interesting that you say that. Matter of fact, let's go to a break, then we'll come back and we'll talk about that in a second. Right now, it is the Lav Luv Morning Show, Post 101.3, the heartbeat of the community. We talking about it, people. It's the Lav Luv Morning Show, Post 101.3. We still got the mom who attended the prom with her son on the line. One of the things you just said before we went to the break is you talked about it's because of the way you look, possibly why people are reacting that way. And it's funny you say that. My producer mentioned your dress when we talked about it last week. He felt like your dress was a bit much. I actually didn't. For me, the dress wasn't as much of an issue. But for him, it was an issue. He was like, that's way too sexy to be around them horny 18-year-olds.
And it's crazy because I thought I purposely toned it down by wearing stockings because you said that you were on my page. Had you went down a little further, you would have seen that I wore that dress a few weeks prior to a wedding with my complete leg out. I purposely wore stockings to the prom to show less skin.
Okay. So I would have to go back and look at those pictures. I didn't go that far down the page. I went far enough down to say, "Ooh, she's doing it for the gram." But so do you think what about the? I know it's here and now talking to you, getting a little bit more of a feel for you. Do you think you might could have toned it down a little bit?
But what?
This is me. This is me.
I didn't buy a dress for this event because this wasn't a planned event. I wore what I already had in my closet. So because
could you wore something less sexier?
I'm sorry?
Could you have worn something less sexier?
No, it was a black dress. The only thing that I was showing was the top part of my torso. The dress was a full length and the split was covered by black stockings. So how was I supposed to tone it down? More than that?
No. This was my producer City. I hate City's not here. That was his thing. I'm asking. I got to ask the questions. If we talked about it, I got to ask the questions. I'm trying to ask all of the questions, things that we touched on, and questions and comments that listeners had too. I'm trying to make sure I address all of those things.
No, I think I was pretty appropriately dressed, especially considering how some of those girls were dressed at the prom.
Okay, I got you. All right. So if you had to do it all over again, would you do the same thing?
I would do it all over again 10 times over, because I don't think that even if I was to foresee the backlash that I would have gotten off this, I wouldn't have said no to my son to avoid the backlash. I don't care what they're saying because I know what my reality is. And a lot of people were saying, well, why are you even bothering commenting on everyone? Because I don't want my silence to be taken as me passing that on as true or right. You know what I mean? I need to defend my position because it's completely false what the narrative that people were trying to spin on that video.
I get it. I think it's a little. You in the Northeast. I'm not gonna say exactly where you at, but you're in the Northeast. I think that's your Northeastern aggressiveness is in you too, right? You know, y'all little. That's your aggressive Northeastern woman in you too. You like.
You're right.
You know,
And then I guess I
word
can
is
see
born.
where
I'm
the
not letting them
Southern,
disrespect me, yo.
I can also see where the Southern mentality plays a role in this, and they see it as what they see it as. So I guess everyone is allowed to have their opinions. But no, I don't think I did anything wrong, and I would do it again.
Okay. I don't necessarily even know if it's a right or wrong thing. Is your child. You get to do what you want to with your child, regardless of the age or whatever. So I don't necessarily know if it's a more a right or wrong situation. I think it's just this is what you chose to do. Some people agree, some people didn't agree, and it is what it is. It hit the internet, and now people are talking about it, just like us. Yeah. Let me say this. I appreciate you. Appreciate you hanging out. Thank you for the interview.
Thank you
For
so much for
time.
having me in the
All
platform.
right. Cool. And we wish you the best. Don't go to the prom next year. So outside of that,
Well, he won't be there, but if any other kids want me to go to their prom, ask your parents and I'll wear the same dress.
no, you're not going with these people, damn kids to the prom. You're not doing that. No, you keep that thing wrapped up. All right. It is the Lav Luv Morning Show.
We
Post
see the
101.
world as we are, not as it is.
Now you sound like people that say we listen, but we don't judge. They always damn judge all the time. That is a lie. Appreciate you for hanging out with us. Appreciate you. All right. It's the Lav Luv Morning Show, Post 101.3. We out of here.